Everybody, I'm Dror Gurevich, CEO of the Velocity Network Foundation, and I have with me today Ivan Basart, co-founder and CTO at Validate ID. And Validate ID is an organization helping businesses send and sign documents online and identify users and clients with maximum efficiency, security, trust, and legal compliance. And we're here to talk about Validate ID, Velocity Network, and all things blockchain for career and identity. So, Ivan, thank you for joining us.
A pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Good. So, why don't you start with presenting yourself and how did you find yourself in the identity space?
Well, so I've been involved on the identity space for the last 20 years, I would say. I feel old when I say those statements, but it's reality. So, actually, I got a lot of interest in this on security in general, on cryptography when I was finishing my studies in the university. And I started working in different companies about this topic, from companies related with token hardware to certification authorities to different companies related mostly to digital signatures and digital identity, which is quite connected. And finally, I would say that now almost 10 years ago, we founded Validate ID with other three colleagues. And our idea is, okay, let's try. So this is security and identity is quite complex and it's not being deployed to massive users. So let's try to create a company that has an important level of trust and security, but also to deliver something that the people is able to use in his daily basis. And that's how Validate ID came into reality almost 10 years ago now.
Fantastic. So could you describe to our audience Validate ID in a few sentences? You know, what type of solutions you're providing, what type of impact you have on the market? You're obviously, from your accent, we can hear that you're Spanish, but are you operating outside Spain? Where are your biggest markets and so on? So our audience will understand who are you and what type of impact you have on the market.
Yeah, super. Yeah. I'm based in Barcelona. So we have the headquarters here in Barcelona, but we have offices also in Paris and also in Germany. But most of the team is here in Barcelona. We are about 40 people now. So when we have been growing during these years. In a sentence, we are a trust service provider. So we deliver services around trust. Our main business is about digital signature. So digital signature is, I would say, quite pushing a lot these last years. So from big companies like DocuSign, but many others. Now it's almost a commodity. So we are a digital signature provider with different. I would say it's not like almost the DocuSign signature. We have like kind of differences. So we have kind of different technologies. We're able to collect graphometric biometry on face-to-face signature. We're able to work with digital certificates to fulfill with the qualified signatures here in Europe. We're able to do different kind of things to have more advanced signatures. And we have a big network of partners because actually normally we deliver our service through a lot of to partners that integrate our digital signature service into their solution, normally a document management solution. And mostly those partners are from healthcare, from public administrations, and from human resources. They integrate digital signature in their services. And from that, they deliver that to their customers. So that's our main business. But as the name say, although we are working from 10 years on digital signatures, when we created the company Validate ID, our goal was to work on the digital identity space, which is quite connected at the end, because on the digital signature process also you need to prove your identity somehow. In some cases in a very poor way, so you just click on an email and that's it. But in some cases you need more proficient ways to do that, right? And since 4 years ago, we started working on the self-sovereign identity space. I would say we're one of the first European members of the Decentralized Identity Foundation. We are quite active there. We've participated on different white papers and in some reference implementations on the Decentralized Identity Foundation. We are also part of the EPSI project. The EPSI project is a European Commission project that includes self-sovereign identity. So actually, the most of the part of the identity wallet of the European Commission SSI, we develop it in from Validated ID. We're also members of the Sovereign Network, which is a worldwide network for self-sovereign identity. We have the only running node of Sovereign Network here in Spain. And we have our own self-sovereign identity solution service, which is called VChain, that can be downloaded from the stores and so on. And we have piloted in different places. In some banks here in Spain, the two major banks, we have made some pilots with them to deliver SSI solution and with some public administrations. And we recently joined the Velocity Network, also trying to help this ecosystem to make it a reality and to deploy the self-sovereign identity to a big number of users and use cases and companies in order to make this ecosystem growth and make it not just piloting, but real users with real use cases. That's our goal here in Velocity.
Yeah. So that was my next question, and maybe you can elaborate a little bit. What made you join Velocity Network, right? Why Velocity Network? You're involved in multiple frameworks around different types of identity. Why invest time, resource, and attention on Velocity Network? What made you join the other HCM and education Titan companies participating in the network?
So that's a good question. I mean, we think it's a very interesting initiative. I think if we look at the self-sovereign identity in general, so this new paradigm of identities, so it's quite on an immature state yet. So I mean, there's a lot technology is on there, regulation is on the way. So it is expected that the next version of the EIDAS regulation, which is the European regulation for digital signatures and digital identities, will include also self-sovereign identity. So I think there's a good path in that way. Also, the market is pushing into that. Big companies like Microsoft, Accenture are also believing in this paradigm. So I think there is a good future for the self-sovereign identity, but we need to start building the present, right? The present time. And it's a bit complex because it requires a lot of people be sitting down on the same table and putting in let's say in the same page, because there is a multi-site, let's say, problem or market. You need credentials coming from a lot of places, then you need users holding those credentials, and then you need people that would like to verify those credentials in order to have use cases. And in many initiatives, let's say we are in a chicken egg problem. So as there are no credentials, there are no users. As there are no users, there are no use cases. So we need somehow to break this vicious circle. And for doing that, we need a whole ecosystem where all people here is sitting down together and deliver all from A to Z, all the user story. I think Velocity is making this path in a very good way. So I think there are all the stakeholders that are required for the HR, let's say, vertical. So from people that issue credentials, universities, or companies that take credentials from universities, to then people that need to consume those credentials. So you have not just a part of the story, not just a very theoretical pilot, but potentially you have all the stakeholders that you need to deliver a real use case. And I think that's very promising, and that's why we would like also to participate here, because we think that adoption now is very important on SSI, and for having adoption with having use cases with real users, because we need also to know the feedback from the users. Right? This is working, this is not working, we need to change that, we need to improve that. So, and users, not just the people holding the wallet, also users that needs to verify the credentials. So we need real use cases in place in order to see how we need to evolve this kind of thing. And I think the Velocity Network has all the stakeholders for doing that. And HR is we're very interested also in HR, because on our digital signature space, it is one of the verticals we are targeting. Many of our customers are from human resources, so we have contacts also with partners that deliver software in HR. So as this is trying to moving, we can also connect dots. So that's why we're joined the Velocity Network, because we think it's a very interesting initiative and quite unique, let's say, on the SSI, because it puts all the stakeholders together. And we think that we can put value in this initiative because of our expertise on SSI and because of our particular market on HR, on the digital signatures. Yeah.
And what type of solutions and benefits would your users and constituents would see on top of the Velocity network?
So that's a little bit the same story. So I think that having all the stakeholders together with the real all the use case and all the customer journey in it, I think it's a lot of value, because then the people that really would like to use that can have the real touch, the real experience of how the process will be. Because now the pilots we have been done with many of the SSI pilots has been on the innovation space. That's all right. With we went to a bank and we went to the innovation team, and they were willing to test that, and they were happy with the result. And when we talk about moving that to real users, okay, we need to talk with compliance, we need to talk, I mean, everything is much more complex. It's not easy to get to these real users at the end to make a whole test of that. So I think having a network with all the stakeholders and all the pieces of technology and regulation, let's say, so this global approach, I think it will have a lot of value for people that would like to test this new paradigm with all the use cases that we can use it. Mm-hmm.
But and Validated ID, what do you plan to offer the market? Is it a wallet, identity wallet? Is it some?
We have different. Yeah. We have different pieces of technology that I think that can be useful in this scenario. So we have our identity wallet, that it comes from our let's say experience and knowledge from the European Commission project. So and I think in that sense it will have a lot of value, because it's not just our knowledge, because all the knowledge, that all the expertise that people is putting that. It is an SSI wallet, so there's not so much different like other wallets, but also you can from this wallet we let the user to create verifiable credentials by himself, because in some cases, as you need credentials, sometimes you need to have some bridges from the existing credentials to these new SSI credentials. So for instance, we allow the user from the wallet to create an identity credential from an existing physical identity card, a national ID card or a passport. So like a know your customer process, you can scan or make a photo of your passport or ID card, a proof of life, and then from that we create a verifiable credential, or a verifiable credential proving that this phone number is yours, or an email account, or a social network. So we will allow the users will be able to create a bunch of credentials that will be useful to make the first steps on this path. We have also some pieces of technology that make things easier to people that would like to verify those credentials. So we have, for instance, an OpenID Connect provider in order to make that entities that would like to interact with users do it in a easy way. So for those that these are not techies, means that with the same technology that you put on a website, login with Facebook or login with Google, you will be able to put a button to say login with SSI. And with that, you will be able to interact with a wallet, get credentials, interact with users. So that make things very easy. And also in this approach that we have to have a bridge, because we have an existing wall and we have this SSI wall, but probably we will require some bridges for a while. So also we have a bridge that comes also from a project on the European Commission, which is the eIDAS bridge. eIDAS bridge means that we have nowadays not verifiable credentials, but on the existing regulation, we have digital certificates. And we have a piece of technology that comes also from the European Commission that we have evolved it, and it's open source, that is able to reduce the level of trust from a qualified certificate on a verifiable credential. That means that we will be able to deliver verifiable credentials with the level of trust of a qualified certificate coming from the eIDAS regulation. So that could be also have value depending on the credential of the use case. we think that it's something that the ecosystem of Velocity Network can also take advantage in order to deliver use cases where there is a high regulation on some specific cases. So these are the things that we can bring on the table for the Velocity Network initiative.
Fantastic. So I mean, what would be, if you would have, if you would be able to send a message to labor market participants, especially employers or any government agencies involved or education, what would be your message to them?
So I think the wave of self-owned identity, it's coming, and it's coming to stay. So we require that change. I mean, we are lost in internet on the identity space. I mean, yeah, we have GDPR and these kind of things, but the reality is that we have no control of our personal data. Not even no control, but we don't know which data third parties have about us. So it's quite a mess. We get used about that, and it's fine, but it's not a normal thing, right? So we need to change that. I mean, this is something that, okay, internet was designed without an identity layer because internet was designed to communicate computers, not humans. But it has been like almost 50 years from the internet, so we need to change our mind. We need as users and as citizens a new way to relate between us, with privacy, with security, not just for individuals, but also for companies that need to relate with individuals. Really, I need to know that you, that you are, I don't know, over 18, that you are an engineer, these kind of things. We cannot do that nowadays in a secure way. So this is something that we require as a society, in a digital society. So it will take time. We know that because this is a huge change and it's challenging. We know that, but we think we really have the chance to change the way of the identities on internet has been over the last 20, 30 years. So I think we need people trying to test that, to be part of these initiatives. So we know that this will take time, but the most people is joining this kind of initiatives, the easier will be that to have more people on board and to make these things happening faster. So I would say that all the institutions and people that have the ability and the opportunity to join that, I think it is the right time. I think it's the right initiative. So everybody will take advantage of that. So let's make a team that we're able to have this big challenge and make it to a reality.
So I want to make your life a little bit harder on this, because because the question is not whether organizations will embed SSI, and in the age of space, obviously the problem is huge. You have 1 billion people moving jobs every year, and someone has to verify they own the credentials they claim to own. But the question is, why now? Why not wait a couple of years, 3, 4, 5, and then when it will be, well matured, then we'll join. Why not?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, and it's everybody has. I think everybody has the same question in his mind. I think the question is not if this will happen, but when this will happen, right? So I think everybody agrees on this is happening. I think that to answer this question, we need to think about on SSI, not just for the Velocity Network on the HR, but if we need, I think this could be also a booster, right? But the SSI or the identity goes beyond the careers network. I mean, it's a lot of things, right? So we need to start with a vertical, but there will be a lot of places in our life with this new paradigm will apply. And I think this is accelerating, and I think COVID has pushed it for that load. So now there is even a higher need for having this kind of solutions to prove your identity in a remote, but also in a face-to-face way. And if you think about COVID, now we have a need for the COVID credentials, or these passports of health passports, where you need to prove you are vaccinated, these kind of things. So this part of the same problem, right? So you need to have a credential to prove that you have been vaccinated or you have tested or whatever thing, right? Or you have passed it and the COVID, these kind of things. And this is part of the same problem, right?
Yeah.
And we need that for not just for traveling, but also for going into a soccer stadium, for going into a bar. So
We're going to work.
Exactly, to going to work. Exactly, work. Well, we have to work, right? But there are some things which is very difficult to telework. Teletraveling, it's very difficult for now, right? But and this is part of the same problem. And some people is using SSI for solving that. But we need the experience of the users, on the stakeholders on that. How a user will react. Will the users have the knowledge to handle their credentials from a mobile? Will be complex. We will need to make things easier, which things will value, which others not. So we need to know these kind of things. And for COVID, for career, for whatever kind of thing, because it's part of the same. It's about how we value our privacy and how we handle that. And we need to making this initiative, and we need it now because we have the need now. And I think it's something that it's already happening. So it's I think for me the question, if it's not now or in 2-3 years, is about the speed. So this is happening. So the story is it will go faster or slower depending on how many people will be involved in these stages. But this train is already moving. So it's all about the speed this train is taking. So the more people on board, the more speed we will take. But this train is moving, and I think it is not going to stop. So I think that's why we need the people to be on board now, because it's easier to get involved at these stages, and then you also will have the ability to impact on some of the decisions. When the train is moving, you just go on board and enjoy the trip, but you will not have the ability to have to impact on the decisions. So the time is now. So everybody that has interest on defining how our future handling the identities needs to be, the time is now. It's not in 3 years.
Fantastic. Well, this is it for us on this session. Thank you so much, Ivan. It has been super interesting. I really enjoyed it, and we'll probably be talking very soon. Thank you for our audience for listening in. For more content and talks with thought leaders like Ivan, follow us on the social media, Velocity Network Foundation. Thank you, Ivan. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
It's a pleasure. Bye-bye. Take care.